Welcome back to Triathlete Radio. We're here for episode number 10 and we're happy to be joined by Colin O'Shea today. Welcome for coming in.
Thanks very much for having me. It's a pleasure.
So we've just been talking and a lot of your team are over at Bintan this weekend, and a big shout out to Coach Michael and both of our respective teams. You've got 11 guys over there, correct?
Yeah, 11 guys, so it should be a fun weekend. Looking forward to it.
I haven't counted up exactly how many people we have over there, but all the best for the race. Have you done that race before?
I've never done it, so it's certainly one that I need to do in the future, and perhaps it was one that I should have got in this year, but certainly too late now.
Well, I heard good things about it, but I heard there's a few hills in there, so I need to drop a few kg before I try to claw my way up a hill.
Oh, it'll be nice and fun. why not try it next weekend? Maybe just do a training ride out there.
Yeah, maybe next year. Give me a year. So Colin has a triathlon coaching company here in Singapore. He's a current elite level triathlete yourself and been in the sport a number of years. COSCoaching is the name of the coaching company, and you can find that at COScoaching.com online. You offer a range of services of triathlon online and offline coaching, as well as swimming lessons for individual and classes, correct?
Yeah, that's right. So the vast majority of what I do is online coaching.
Okay.
So I work with a large number of athletes, generally around 25 to 30 athletes.
Wow.
Try to get to know them, plan for specific race events. So anything from some of the shorter local races here, some of the sprint or OD events, right up to half Ironman, but also just running specific events or swimming specific events.
Yeah.
So I've had athletes doing swim runs or even ultras as well, so really right across the board.
And mainly based in the Asia region, or you coach people, all around the world?
So mainly Asia.
Yeah.
However, I do have athletes. I've got one guy in the US, a few down in Australia, one guy in the UK.
Yeah.
Some of that's due to, just like yourselves, people relocating from Singapore.
Yeah. Word spreads.
Yeah, so I suspect as the business matures, that's what will happen more and more, given that, certainly amongst the expatriate community here in Singapore, it's a lot more transient.
Yeah, definitely. We have a definite rollover, I'm sure is the same in your squad, of people that come in Singapore on a work basis, and then they're here for 2 or 3 years, and then they're going to move on either back home, or they, for different reasons, they've got to...
No, exactly, and I've been fortunate to work with a number of them that, just like yourself with your athletes, that it's really nice when they say to you, can you continue to coach me when I'm in the middle of the US, for example. So
yeah,
you just have late Skype calls then.
Yeah, that's true. For me personally, I really love my guys to be in a swim squad. So I always try to work, it's our philosophy anyway, to work with other coaches, and it's part of the reason why we want to have other coaches come in and be on the show, is because we want to show everyone that everyone works together.
Yeah.
We want to work together. Triage doesn't offer any swim one-on-one coaching. It's just out of our bandwidth, to be honest, at the moment. Now I understand you do that.
Yes, so I do a small bit of that, just given the number of hours that I have in the week.
Yeah.
I'll take on maybe three to 5 people a week, and see them individually at my condo.
Yeah.
And it's really looking at their alignment, their positioning in the water, and that's the most of what I see on the triathlon profile side.
Yeah.
Is that the positioning and the alignment is what needs to be corrected.
Well, those are the big ticket items, right?
Yeah.
Positioning, alignment. I'm a big stickler for kicking.
Yes,
but,
so am I.
You are?
I'm right with you on that. They hate me for it.
Your swimming background?
Yes.
Yeah. So it's funny whenever I come across a triathlon coach, if they're from a swimming background, they usually be all for kicking. The ones who are from running backgrounds or cycling backgrounds tend to be like, stick on a wetsuit or do pull work, because you're going to get wetsuit in a race, and don't worry so much about your kicking. But it's funny we're aligned on that, because I really believe in it.
Yeah, I really believe in it. I feel it's important. You need to have those feet up on the top of the water. You're not necessarily going to be gaining the vast majority of your propulsion from kick, but you want to minimize that drag. And if we have the legs down towards the bottom of the water, that's not really going to help your time. So
you hit it. Exactly what I believe as well. It's about minimizing drag, if not propulsion.
Yeah.
But propulsion's also good as well.
Propulsion certainly is good, but you know, I think if you're using a 4 or 6 speed kick for, you know, anything longer really than 400 meters free, I think, you know, you're just using a lot of energy.
Yeah.
So, you know, my philosophy really is to get that alignment good, for them to be able to kick on their own up and down the pool.
Yeah.
And I use a snorkel as well.
Okay.
Just for head positioning.
Yeah.
And once they can do that, then if they can swim 800, 1500 meters, whatever they need to swim, the vast majority of the power will be coming from the arms.
Right. Of course.
So, you know, that's really what we work on in some of those lessons.
It's about decreasing that drag and being able to glide, so then you can maximize the power that your arms are generating, and basically decreasing how much work you do, because at the end of the day, swimming is a bit of a yin and yang sport.
Yeah, it's yin and yang, and also it's, you know, it's the breathing pattern. So, you know, when I look at the guys as well, and I see some people holding their breath.
Yeah.
You know, I kind of have a chat with them and say, can you hold that breath for, you know, longer than 5 minutes? Or
right.
Is that what you're going to do over the course of a half Ironman swim or a full Ironman swim? So we really look at, you know, how often they're breathing, and you know, I really like them to breathe as often as possible.
So you like every 1 or every 3?
So this is a good one. So every 1, certainly in a race, is going to be optimizing the number of breaths you're taking.
Yeah.
However, it's single-sided breathing, so if you're training that way, you can have some muscle imbalances.
Yeah, definitely.
I do like to encourage swimmers to be able to breathe to both sides. However, saying that, if you're breathing every 3, you're only taking about 20 breaths per second if you're assuming if you've got 60 strokes per minute.
Yeah.
Which, to me, that is probably not enough.
Right.
So what I do and what I try in my training is I'll breathe 3, then I'll breathe every one, then swap to the other side.
Yeah.
And effectively what you get then, if you do the maths, you get something between 20 and 30 breaths per minute.
It's funny you do that, because I find when I'm just getting back into my fitness and really trying to swim hard, 3-1-1 is the perfect ratio. It gives you that extra bit of oxygen, and that really helps.
No, I find it's great. I personally, I find if I'm doing long sets, let's say we mentioned, you know, 3 800s.
Yeah.
So if I'm doing 3 800s, and if I do every 3, I'll just be out of breath. But if I do something like 3-1-1 or 3-2-2, then I'm perfect. I can go for a very long time.
Yeah.
And even just get stronger into the swim. And and really that's the end game if, you know, you're doing a 3.8k Ironman swim.
Right, is being able to keep that pace and not it's a person that slows down, because over the first 50 meters most of us can swim pretty quick over 50, but how long can you hold that for? So having the oxygen there.
It's the oxygen and also having the mind, so that you're able to feel and get a grip of the water the whole way through. So, you know, as you get tired and as you get, you know, stressed, that grip starts to fray. So, and you lose hold of the water, and then the hand starts to come out of the water earlier, which is everything you want to minimize and avoid, right?
Yeah,
so,
exactly.
And you know, the breathing is on top of everything, really. So that is the guiding force as to effectively how you'll swim.
Yeah, absolutely. We're talking from the same songbook. We've obviously had similar swimming experience over the years, and one of the things I also try to avoid for my guys is that if they do have a habit of breathing every 1, the real biggest negative apart from body imbalances is that if you get a swim course and the chop is coming and you're only able to breathe on the right, you're going to spend the whole time sucking in water. So having that adaptability, I'm sure you would change to a 4 1-1 in a situation like that, so then your breathing is away from the chop.
Yeah, completely. And you know, it's a lot of courses, open water courses that we swim on in races. They'll typically have the boys going out, and then you swim parallel to the shore for maybe 800 meters and then back in.
Yeah.
So if the waves are crashing in, you're better off just looking towards the shore.
Absolutely.
So, and to that point, you don't want to take a whole mouth load of water. So you have to be able to be adaptable and not being shoved up against the ropes as well. So if the current is flowing in a certain direction, if you're only looking on one side, you don't know whether you're going to be swimming over the ropes. And
that's one of the biggest problems with age group level, is that it might be a 750 meter swim, but because they're not holding a straight line, that ends up being 900 meters. So being able to control your breathing definitely helps in the alignment and sighting.
Well, and I think I think that's a great one that you mentioned, and you know, I know you guys hold the open water swim sessions, and I do a few of them as well. I hold less group sessions than you guys. But we always talk about making sure you're going in the right direction first. So you can draft off somebody and be on somebody's leg or hip, or whatever is the best place to stay. But if they're going the wrong way,
that's the problem.
You're in trouble. So you've got to make sure that you sight and go the right way. And you know, that's something we do when, you know, we get the race files back. You know, I use Training Peaks. We just analyze whether their sighting has been good after the race or not. So you can easily see whether they're zigzagging through the course, or whether they're actually going direct in the right manner.
Yeah, there's definitely, and there's been a lot of talk recently. There's sighting is one thing, but in the recent race down at East Coast and also Cebu
is very long.
Tidal, man, the tidal plays a big part, and sometimes that's unavoidable. Cebu, especially with that huge movement. But I said to one of my guys, you got to get smart about this. That you don't have to start with your pack. Your time starts when you cross the line.
Exactly.
So if you knew the tide was going to turn an hour later, and you could start with a slower group or a faster group, whatever it may be, it's your race. So you can really gain 10 minutes just by understanding the tides. And
and I think that was similar to what happened particularly in Cebu in 2015. So I remember in 2015 in Cebu, I was thankfully out in the front of the pack, and we got through the swim, and I didn't really notice any tide or any issue at all. But apparently 15 minutes after I left,
it right in that sweet spot.
It was perfect. And then the rest of the guys went, and you had people being towed out of the water, and it was a pretty brutal race. But I think the other thing I'd say about, you know, open water swim races, and you know, people looking at times and distances, and you know, some people might say, I want to beat my 35-minute PB on, for example, the Bintan course this weekend. It's just not like for like. You know, we talk about tide, there's currents. You might have a very shallow entry where you've got to wade in the water a long way. So there's so many externalities and variables that will lead to a different time.
And this is a problem. I talk about it with my guys often when they're analysing their race, post-race. I like to take a cross-section. I like to take the leaders, like guys like yourself, to see how much slower they were. Comparatively, how much slower people that normally you race with, how much slower were they? Because if you're 10 minutes quicker or closer to the leader than you otherwise would be, you probably had a great day, even though you're 30 minutes slower than your PB. So
I completely agree. You know, that's the way that I would look at things as well, and you know, compared to, you know, some of the pros, how far away are you from them? You know, what's the percentiles? So if all is constant and all is even coming back the field, then yes, that's
and the pros are usually relatively even.
They're more consistent than the age groupers, for example, because with even some of the top age groupers in some of the races, you might have, you know, a 20-minute differential from one race to the next, whereas if you look at the pros,
you're having a bad day, it might be you slip out by 5 minutes, but you can kind of contain the devastation, so to speak.
Hopefully.
Maybe not Ironman. There's been many Ironman that have broken a pro. So you just came off one Ironman recently.
Yes, yeah.
And you have another one this year. So how has your racing been going this year?
So the racing has been really Ironman focused.
Yeah.
So 2 ones in particular. So July was Challenge Roth.
Yeah. Well, Kath was up there as well.
Not
Kath. No. Sorry. Vargan was up there. So Vargan coaches for Tri-Age.
Okay.
So yeah, he was up in Roth. And how did you find Roth?
I found it was a fantastic experience.
Yeah.
Southern Germany in the summer is, a lovely place to be. The atmosphere was amazing.
Yeah.
So I was fortunate enough to start in the first start group.
Yeah. Elite Wave.
With the Elite Wave, and my swim went very well. So I came out of the water about 17th.
Yeah.
And I was quite happy with my time.
Mm-hmm.
Onto the bike, and lovely rolling course in Roth.
Yeah.
Go through a few different villages. There's people the whole way.
Yeah. I was told it was like Tour de France style.
It's really good. I think my race, I use power. I think I pushed too hard in my wattage at the start of the race, and quite simply the back end, I suffered. So that's work I've got to do in training.
Yeah.
Now before Kona in October.
Yeah.
And the run in Roth this year, they changed the run course.
Okay.
So previously in Roth, it used to be quite a flat run course along the canal. This year they had it going through 2 towns.
Okay.
But as a result, the atmosphere was absolutely fantastic. So if anyone's thinking of, a race with a great atmosphere to do, certainly I'd go and do Roth. You run through the towns a few times.
Yeah.
It is a bit hilly though.
Okay.
So it's not as an easy race as you might.
Especially coming from Singapore. I mean, coming from Singapore and having a few hills in there, man, do they make a difference?
Yeah, certainly. So I think certainly post Roth, there's a lot of more hill work in my training now. Pre Kona.
Yeah.
But overall, I was happy. I was happy with Roth.
Yeah.
It was a decent Ironman just to lay down some ground for Kona in October.
And so after Roth, you stayed in the region for a bit and did some extra training.
Yeah.
So, how was the training? Where were you, and how did you
So
find it?
what I did was I stayed in Germany, and then I went down to Italy afterwards. So I spent 10 days in Tuscany.
Yeah.
And we're in the middle of Tuscany in the kind of rolling hills, staying in a place in the countryside, and
fantastic.
I just took my bike out, and it was just absolutely beautiful.
Yeah.
It was daylight at about 5:30, 6 in the morning there.
Yeah.
So a lot of time, first thing in the morning, I'd go out. There'd be nobody on the roads.
And if someone comes by, they're willing to wait, and they're willing to.
Yeah,
they love cycling, so the culture is.
It was very courteous.
Yeah.
It was a pleasure really cycling over there, and because it was just a week and the second week after Roth, I didn't have any strenuous targets. It was just more recovery rides.
Yeah.
So I could stop for coffees. I could take in the scenery. So one morning I went and. I effectively went on a tourist route of Tuscany, visiting the different towns. So,
perfect.
Yeah, I'd highly encourage anyone out there to go and cycle in Tuscany. It's just beautiful.
I've never been to Tuscany. I spent a lot of time in Germany, but Tuscany sounds like a good idea. Maybe you don't drink, but if maybe we pair that with a wine trip, that might encourage a few more people to come along.
Yeah, certainly. But I do eat.
Yeah. Oh, beautiful food over there.
The food over there is just gorgeous.
I heard for the ladies out there, I've heard there's a few decent handbag shops over there. I was at a dinner party the other night and they were talking about a couple of shops.
Yeah, and if you've got handbags and it's made in Italy, it's probably going to be a bit cheaper than Singapore.
Yeah,
so,
this is true.
Luxury goods in Singapore are not cheap.
This is true. So you have Hawaii coming up in October.
Yes.
And how's everything going for that?
Yeah, so I'm just about 3 weeks into a build, 3-4 weeks into a build for Hawaii. Training has been going relatively well.
Yeah.
I had a bit small setback last weekend, just had a few days off ill.
Yeah.
So
but it's normal. This is Ironman.
Yeah, it's normal, and you know, my coach and I chat, and I just properly take the days off, rest, recover, and come back. And what we've done is, you know, the past 3 days I've been back, my training load has been easier, so the intensity has been dialed down.
Yeah.
And even, you know, I've got a 6-hour session tomorrow, but you know, the intensity, it's not what it was before. So you know, next week I believe we go into a harder block, and then I have an easy week, and then we really go for the last 3-4 weeks before.
So you've still got some time. Yeah.
But it's doing what you'd expect me to do before Kona, you know, so getting in, you know, some of the long rides, long runs, long breaks.
Key breaks.
Really been focusing on the bike and run.
Yeah.
I haven't been swimming as much the past few weeks.
Like we used to say swimming was I was lucky to spend a lot of time with Cameron Brown in New Zealand and Joe Lawn, so I really leached off them for a lot of advice building up to Ironman. They always said swimming was the fourth discipline. If you get your transition is almost as important as your swim. Yeah. So the cycling and running is where it's really at for Ironman. So, and coming from a swimming background, you can lean on that. So
yeah, I suppose it's a slight disadvantage for me in that, you know, biking is my weakest component, swimming is my strongest. Yeah. But at the same time, it's where I'm putting most of my effort into. And
like you can run, so running was always my weakest. So you're fortunate there.
Hopefully. Yeah. So yeah, I just putting in as many good sessions as I can, and you know, really just looking to get some quality in over the course of the next month. And I need to work, you know, need to make sure my nutrition and you know, running outside in the conditions of Kona, where you know it's a bit hilly and it's hot as well.
Yeah.
So
well, you got the heat here. I just need to search for some hills.
Yeah, there's I live in central Singapore, around Bukit Timah. Okay. So there's plenty of nature reserves. Yeah. Hills in the area I live by, so they're incorporated into my routine. But also, I think my coach likes giving me certain hill work on the treadmill as well. Yeah. Okay. So in fact today I've got a small set.
Any reason for treadmill running?
Or just being a bit more precise in terms of the incline I'm running at and the duration and the pace. Okay.
Anything on the leg speed side, because obviously treadmill's coming to you rather than you going on it.
Yeah. So on leg speed, but also I think I do mix treadmill up with outdoor running just for recovery. Yeah. So just running, you know, personally I find if I'm running let's say if I'm running 4 days a week, and if I'm doing every one of my runs outdoor in Singapore, it just takes a bit more out of me.
Too hot.
And I'm training at the moment, it's 20 to 25 hours a week. Yeah. So I do need some recovery, and you know, I pick the key sessions that I've got to do inside, and the sessions that need to be done outside.
Right. And mixing it up like that, I think, is a great idea in this country. You're exactly right. You need that recovery time out of the heat, and even early morning, it's still very humid, so it still sucks it out of you.
It does, but it sucks it out of you. But there's, you know, I see some of my guys. You know, I go out very early. Yeah. So I'll go out, you know, 4 or 5 in the morning and do some of my cycling sets. And when you're coming running, aside from the very long set, you're running at a reasonable hour. But I notice a difference if I'm running at midday here. Yeah. I did a run just a week and a half ago. I think it was about 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and my heart rate went up to 190 very quickly. Right. And just far too quick. Yeah. So, you know, if I did that at 8 a.m., the profile is completely different. Right. So, and the recovery off the back of that run, I was tired, you know, for, you know, two days after that. Yeah. So
that must have been a big run.
It wasn't that big. Okay. But I don't think I was prepared for it at that stage.
And you've come off a little bit of sickness, so might have pushed it up quicker as well. Yeah. Yeah. You said something good before, and I want to bring it back for our athletes who are listening to the show. Good athletes, when they know their body is sick, they just cut it. They cut their training and take the time. There's no point tinkering. There's no point fearing that you're missing out on sessions and good athletes will cut it, give their body the time they need, and then slowly, like you said, back off the intensity and even duration for a few days, and then build it up slow. So
yeah, and that's been my week. So my week
Right.
this week, I think Tuesday was probably initially it meant to be a 3-hour break, and it was an hour and a half. It was just a 90-minute easy bike ride.
right,
You know, Wednesday I think was meant to be, you know, a 25k run or something like that, and
Yeah.
it was, you know, I just did a 2-hour easy ride, a 7k easy run. So everything was just made a lot easier.
and ticking over.
And also, as you said, you know, if I miss a session's gone.
Never
You know,
catch
I
up.
just I would never try to cram, you know, yesterday's session
Yeah,
into today together with today's session. You know, we look at, you know, on Training Peaks, you got your training stress score,
yeah,
and you know, there's a reason your coach puts the sessions in a particular order, because typically what they're doing is they're mixing a lower TSS day with a higher TSS day.
right,
And they're giving your body the ability to recuperate
yeah,
and be ready for the next day of more intense training or
Right.
just longer training which has a higher TSS.
and this is why it scares me when I know of some athletes in Singapore that are trying to go out there every day and smash that bike and race their mates. This is just a foolproof way of
Injury.
injury and also leveling your ability. Like because you never have that low day, that the microcycles within the macrocycle, you never get that downtime in order to make the jump and progression. So it's stress, recover. So
No, and exactly, and you know what I do with all my athletes when we start out is I do a simple swim bike run test.
yeah,
So just assess their zones, assess their pace, and then a lot of their training is based off that.
Right.
And what I do like is, you know, some days I'll be saying don't, you know, run slower than 6:30 minute a kilometer pace or
Yeah.
below heart rate zone 2, for example.
yeah,
And some find that, Colin, you're telling me that's so slow. I never run this slow, and
Right.
it's actually good for you to do just some
Very
long,
good
slow
for you.
running.
Well,
but
your
then-
body doesn't know the adaptation you're looking for. Your body doesn't know the difference. It's going to make the same adaptation anyway, whether you run fast or slow. It's just the recovery which is the difference.
Exactly.
For that particular session.
Yeah, and for the other sessions, then you really do move up the zones.
Right.
And you do give them. So you say that the athlete that's going smashing themselves every day, they might have been doing, I don't know, 5 minute a kilometer run every single day.
Right.
But you might get them to run 6 minutes slow and 4:30 fast, and then they're going to be a better athlete.
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
you know that's, you know, it seems like we're very much aligned. I suppose I did get my triathlon qualifications from Tri New Zealand. So
Yeah.
you know, which you know, there's a lot of history there.
Yeah, I think is when you've been in the sport a certain time, the methodology it's quite well understood, the methodology of how it can be structured. There's quite a difference between half Ironman, Ironman athletes and people racing ITU, and people who are professional as well. There may be a much bigger base with a much longer race season. How do you find with your athletes managing here the fact the race season's all year round, and you're backing up 2 Ironman in the space of 4 months, is that correct?
Yeah, that's right.
So that's quite close proximity, but it's far enough apart that you can do one good build up, good rest, and then a second good build up. How do you like to structure your athletes? Because this is something that we tell people,
Mm-hmm.
hey look, I don't think 4 half Ironman and 2 Ironman this year is a great idea in your first year of triathlon.
Yeah, like I think ultimately you're working managing expectations, managing the athlete coach relationship in terms of, you know, ultimately what they want. You can give them advice.
Yeah.
You can advise them that, okay, it's good to have a bit of a down period where we build your base, we work on your technique, we work on the particular areas that you're weak at, without the pressure of racing or building up and tapering back. You know, so I do like the season to kind of start in April, May time.
Okay.
You know, so if they're doing half Ironmans, so to do a half Ironman then, and then maybe to do another one in the kind of August September time period.
So about 2 good build-ups a year.
2 good builds, and that typically works quite well. However, we deal with people, and there's A priority races, B races, C races. So some of those races, let's say some running races, work well in a build for a half Ironman.
So those are definitely B and C races, and I try to take out expectation. Because you're not there to do a PB, and if you do a PB, great, but that's not the purpose of it. The purpose of it is a tempo run to know where you're at.
I think that's right, and I think most of my athletes will be aware of that, and they know who they are, the ones that do many races. So I've got some athletes that will probably do a race a month, and that's fine, but they know the objectives of each one of those races, and what they are or are not going to get out of it. So some of them are purely training sessions, and we don't taper for those races. We don't build for those races. They're just incorporated into the plan.
Sometimes I like to, especially if they've got Ironman coming up or half Ironman, I'll purposefully make Saturday really hard. So then they're just absolutely smacked, and then come into that race and say, no, I want you to back up, but Monday and Tuesday you're going to be like really resting. So that just whatever, as a coach, you want to you have a reason why, and you've just got to communicate that.
Exactly, and I think it's the communication. That's number one. And as long as you've got strong communication and you've got buy-in on both sides, I think that's what's important. If you don't have buy-in, I think that's what leads to issues.
And I've experienced this as well. There's some people who have come in and out of the squad, and they're what they believe to be good training structure and how they want to train didn't quite fit with the philosophy of our group. And that's when, hey, look, we're not the only coaches in Singapore, and we certainly coach our way. Whether it's the best way or not, no one can tell in this space. We like what we do. We try to avoid injuries and try to do it safely. And I'm sure you're the same. But if you want to go and try to do that, here's some coaches I know that are more willing to do, let's say, a lot of track work every week, and which is something we stay away from for the most part, especially for our distance athletes. So it all depends, horses to courses, coach to coach. And
and the other thing I do is I'll look at the athlete, I'll look at the race profile. So for example, I've got a number going to the 70.3 World Championships in Chattanooga in a few weeks. So the course profile there is quite hilly, as most of the 70.3 World Championships have been. So we have been, hills are incorporated in a lot of my athletes' training programs anyway, but I've been making sure to try and replicate the race and the course profile to some extent, with in some instances mixing hill work with tempo work.
Your key brick sessions are going to be on a race simulated course,
or even some of the long run sessions during the week will be, they'll be mixed profile sessions. So not only hills but also tempo built in as well. Very cool. So that's been, we'll see the results of that in a few weeks' time.
Well, I have one athlete building up for the 70.3 World Champs as well, but unfortunately she's had a run of injuries this year that we've just been trying to manage our way through. So hopefully she's able to take a break after that race and we can really get back to a stable base. I find injuries the toughest thing for age group athletes. It can knock out a whole season if we don't get on top of it quickly.
No, and I think I've found that in the past. I had a knee injury last year. So I was going to the 70.3 World Champs. I was building up for that, and unfortunately I went down there. I cheered everyone on, but I couldn't race, and it was just my right knee, and it was quite a simple injury. I just neglected doing some of the simple things for a month or two.
Glute activation.
Yeah, glute activation, some ITV, some foam rolling.
Yeah. No stretching.
Yeah, so yoga is something that I incorporate as part of my plan. So I want to get yoga in once a week.
Any particular type of yoga you prefer? I have my preference.
I just like doing I like doing flow yoga.
Oh right.
I just
vinyasa.
Yeah, vinyasa. I really like vinyasa, and I think a lot of the kind of lunges, the warriors that you get in, it's very good just for stabilizing the knees.
Yeah.
Particularly kind of in yoga terms, warrior 3 are some of the balance poses. Whenever I come out of one of those sessions, I just feel that my knee and my legs, where I'm just so much better grounded and stronger.
Yeah.
And whenever I do yoga, and when I'm doing Pilates as well, my wife is a Pilates instructor.
Right.
So I'm quite fortunate there.
Yeah.
She's worked on some of my hips and glutes.
Yep.
Which is an area often overlooked.
Yes. And that's your glutes are often the most important area.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's completely, and I was actually in for a massage yesterday, and had a particularly sore session. Because it was my first since Roth, so it was well overdue. So
I always used to say at school, I used to say to people, I got a day off, and I had massage this afternoon. They're like, wow, so lucky. They're dreaming of this spa massage type thing, but you're actually holding on to the side of the bed.
Of course, yeah.
Gripping, they're just knocking out all the knots. I know exactly. It's actually one of the hardest sessions of the week.
I think certainly this week it's been my hardest session.
Yeah.
It was.
You're not adapted for it, and they just hit it.
It's just sore. He worked me hard yesterday.
It's very important. I was fortunate to be part of the system that I didn't have to pay for some of these things, so I was able to get more than the usual. So I didn't like massage in my base phase too often because I wanted to tighten everything up. Yeah. And it was a low risk of injury. But then in that speed phase, I used to love it twice a week. Yeah. And you can feel even just your muscles becoming more and more supple everywhere, and the massage doesn't hurt as much, to the point where you can be training almost at your max, and you go in for your massage and everything is just gonna work out very easily because everything's very malleable in there, and that's my perfect state when I know I'm really racing well.
No, and I think that's right. It's in the lead up to Kona for me, the frequency of massages will increase. Yeah. I'll certainly probably want one, at least every 2, but probably every week. Yeah, every week. Yeah. Just to make sure I'm not susceptible to that injury.
Especially in that little window, that 3-week window where you're like, last week's your race week, so you might neither here nor there, but that last 3-week window where the training is very important and you got to be hammering it. Yeah. That's when I used to really want to feel great every session.
Yeah. No, exactly.
Yeah. So if you want to get massage in Singapore, there's a lot of people, great massage therapists who offer it. Who do you go to here in Singapore?
I go to a few people. So there's Colin O'Shea at Singapore Physio. Okay. And there's also another lady called Claudia Tiberi at IFC Physio in Hong Kong Street. Okay. Yeah. Cool.
So we have some physio clinics that are also part of our partners on the TriEdge team website, so head over there and check it out. But you want to find someone who's willing to hurt you. If they're not willing to hurt you, then they're probably not doing their job right as a sports physio. So,
yeah, for sure. I went to see Colin O'Shea yesterday at Singapore Physio, and he certainly is good at hurting you. So yeah, I'd highly recommend.
And have you played with any TCM style stuff at all, like needling and
I've done
cupping?
I haven't done the cupping. I did some dry needling last year. Yeah. And that it's a bit of a weird sensation. Yeah. And the next day is quite tender and sore. However, I did find it effective.
Yeah.
So yes, I've tried it, but it's not in my regular routine.
Yeah, I found I used to, when I did get it done, I'd get sick. The next 24 hours I'd have to be very careful because it would bring out a lot of toxins or energy, whatever they're doing.
Yeah.
It would release it and I'd have to flush it out. So the next day would have to be an easy day.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd normally get it done off the back of a very hard day in the evening, and then.
Well, I think that potentially is even the case after a very tough massage. So
yes,
if they're really breaking the muscles down.
Yeah.
So the advice I was given from yesterday, it was a pretty tough session.
Yeah.
With my run this afternoon, I've just got to take it easy, and he strapped me up as well just to help and make sure nothing goes the wrong way.
And that's so for me on my standard weekly structure. The weekend's normally big for people that work. Obviously, the weekend's loaded, but that means Friday night. Friday is an off day for most of my guys. But instead of getting your massage on a Friday, ideally you do it Thursday.
Yeah, not on Friday.
Because if you do it on Friday, that means on Saturday it's still working itself through. So Thursday night is ideal, and then you do your hard work Thursday morning, Thursday night massage, Friday fully off for an easy swim because swimming's recovery.
Yep.
And then Saturday. I know you guys want to have a day off, but I'd rather you swim.
Yeah, and in terms of my training programs and what I give my guys, Friday's typically a swim as well.
Right.
So I have my weekend block and my midweek block.
Yep.
So Monday and Friday.
Yeah.
Typically always swims.
Okay.
And then
relatively easy days.
Relatively easy, although you still need to get some of the swimming volume in.
Yeah.
And we talk about recovery swims, but if somebody's only getting 2 or 3 swims in a week, you've got to make every one of those count.
Yeah.
So it just depends on the athlete and depends on how many swims they're able to do.
Right. So you have your racing, your team for the back half of this year. What's coming up for them in the back half of this year?
So what's coming up? So there's 11 of them in Bintan this weekend. Then we've got the world champs in Chattanooga.
Yeah.
I think there's about 7 of them going over there.
Okay.
Singapore International Triathlon, the 10th of September.
Yeah.
And
we'll be there for that.
So we'll be there, and then there's a few local events around here scattered in October, and then we've got Phuket and Langkawi, half Ironmans.
Phuket's a big one, and Langkawi a lot doing.
And I've got doing the full in Langkawi as well.
Yeah. And
also the end of the year is wrapped off, certainly in Singapore, with the standard chartered marathon,
right,
or the half.
Right.
And one of the guys is doing there's a really good race actually. I've done it before. It's up in Cambodia. It's the Angkor Wat.
Angkor Wat. Yeah. So I've looked at that every year. Yeah.
You should try it sometime.
Yeah. What's the date of that race?
I think it's always the first weekend in December.
So,
Cambodia is a great place to go in December because it gets quite cool at night, and the nice. Temperatures in the middle of the day are in the 25 to 30 degrees.
Okay.
That particular course, for somebody in Southeast Asia, it's flat, but it's not warm then, so you can do a good time.
Okay.
So it's definitely one to check out.
For generally every year, like I mentioned before we started today, I'm in distribution, so Christmas time is usually the time of the year where all hands are on deck here. I've been meaning to get out there for a number of years, but our teams head on up. And you mentioned before about open water swimming.
Yes.
One thing that we have, Mana Mana, the old Mana Mana is about to open again soon.
Okay.
So your team's welcome to join us anytime. Whenever we have an open water session, we have 2 stand-up paddleboards and a surf ski.
That'd be great. Thank you.
Yeah, you guys are welcome to come and join us for the open water work, and we've got safety craft out there, and more people the merrier.
Yeah, what I can do is if you have particular sessions on, you can just send the details and I'll put it on my chat, and
perfect.
All the guys can go over then.
Yeah, because it's good to have a diversity of athletes. I know you're training a lot of guys probably at the sharp end of the sport. Is you train a lot of really more elite guys?
I train right across the board really. So I've been quite fortunate, and the guys have some of the guys and girls have done really well
Yeah.
to qualify for Worlds.
Yeah.
However, some of my guys and girls are doing this for the first time.
Okay.
So, you know, they'll be, I've got people with objectives, you know, certainly just to finish.
Yeah. Well, my objective is just to finish these days. So.
But it's equally pleasurable when you have somebody getting across the finish line and saying, yes, I did it.
Yeah.
Compared to the guy that says, okay, I've got my PB and I've, you know,
Right.
so.
There's wins everywhere as a coach.
Exactly, yeah. So,
Perfect.
as long as you meet those expectations, you're happy, and as long as they enjoy it as well. Because that's the other mantra, that this is a hobby for most of them.
Right.
So it's got to be kept enjoyable, and
Right.
I say to everyone, you've got to enjoy it.
Right.
So.
And they do get worked up on the numbers, so
Of
yeah,
course.
it's, But thank you very much for your time coming in, and all the best for the races in the back half of the year.
No, it's been a pleasure. Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. All the best for those racing on the weekend, and this is Tri-Age Radio, over and out.